Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be playing some Hearthstone ladder. No arena mode because Stig's not here, and unfortunately that that rogue deck is still waiting. We'll probably have that one shot tomorrow, I'm guessing, and edited and hopefully up by this Friday. That's assuming this video goes up before this Friday, because these things take a really long time to upload. We're going to be playing ladder mode because I have had absolutely terrible luck since the new season. My decks have just not worked at all. So what I've done is I've scrubbed all of my decks, and I decided to sit down and actually pay some attention to how to play Hearthstone. Up until now I've been relying on knowledge of card games in general. But I watched some videos, including TB's Lord of the Arena videos. Not all of them, obviously. There's like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of that. But I also watched Trump's tutorials as well, and those were actually quite helpful. It's nothing that I didn't already know, but it's really useful to actually have those mechanics framed in the context of Hearthstone rather than the games that I've normally seen them in. So that was really helpful, and I've created 3 decks since then. This is the one I've had the most luck with. This is basically a Warlock Zoo deck, so we're going to start with that one. This is a rogue deck. It's designed around 2 things, combo and cycle. The idea is it's a bit of a rush down deck, but with a lot of removal in it. So the idea is that you get a lot of creatures on the board. Those creatures have value. They may not trade preferentially, but you've got plenty of removal in your hands so that you don't need to trade. It's working alright. It's a little bit bumpy. I think it needs some cards coming out and some draw going in. This one is a bit more developed than Combo Cycle. This is basically just a control deck made with the Mage class. It's focused on freezing minions, removing minions, and most of the minions that you play are somehow going to help you maintain board control, or at the very least keep your enemy minions tied up and unable to do anything. It's working better, but it needs a bit more draw in it. Because you play quite a lot of cards to control enemy minions, you tend to run out of cards quite quickly, and it goes into top deck mode. When I first made it, it didn't have any draw in it at all, and it was terrible. So let's go with the Warlock Zoo deck. I'll just show you the deck composition before we start. There it is. It's a pretty simple deck. There's nothing hugely complex in there because I basically realised I need to go back and I need to relearn the basics from the ground up. So Corruption, I've already said why I think Corruption is a good card. I still think it's a good card. It's not as good in this deck because you're putting down minions anyway, so you just trade a minion into it and it's a card for a card and it's removed straight away. So here, yeah, not quite as good, but still worth keeping. Might get traded out later. Mortal Coil, a great early game card, great for finishing off combos. If you can't get a preferential trade, but you can get it down to 1 damage, you can at least finish off the card and draw a card, so it kind of balances out. Flame Imp, really good turn 1 play. Drop it out of your hand. You'll probably get something dead with it. Very good board control. It either provokes some pretty overpowered removal for a 1 mana card, or alternatively it takes down something that costs more mana because it's got 3 attack and it can quite happily chew through more health. Voidwalker, 1/3 taunt for 1. Again, pretty strong turn 1 play. Dark Bomb, just a good bit of removal at the end of the day. 3 damage for 2 mana is alright. You know, this is something I might want to replace with something a little bit more creative, but this is just a good functional card. Demon Fire, this can be played on the Flame Imp, and that basically means that for 3 mana you are getting a 5/4. That's pretty goddamn sick. You can also play it as removal as well, and I normally end up playing it as removal. Although in this deck, dumping it on the Flame Imp or the Voidwalker is actually a bit more of a viable tactic. Direwolf Alpha, 2/2 for 2, passes the vanilla test, and it gives adjacent minions +1 attack. Bit of a removal magnet, a bit of a damage magnet, but at the end of the day it's a 2-cost card for 2/2. If it trades 1 for 1, then that's not too bad. Obviously, ideally you want to play it before you attack with something, so you've at least got the card text value out of it. Mistress of Pain, I'm not sure about this one. It combos very well with Demon Fire. Thanks to the card text, you can do a lot of damage, you can keep your health up, and you can just keep life tapping, and you get big card advantage. But that's a combo that's quite easy to shut down. Now, on the other side, it's a 2-cost minion for 1/4, and if you do play Demon Fire on it, you end up with a 3/5 for 4 mana that can heal you. It works, but I don't know if the combo comes together often enough. Shadow Bolt, 3 mana for 4 damage, just solid option for getting rid of mid-game critters. Demolisher, good for board control. If the enemy can't get rid of it, then the damage that it does can make the minions that the enemy plays much easier to deal with, or in the case of decks that rely on 1 or 2 health minions, it can remove creatures entirely. You get 2 of these on the board, and if your opponent doesn't have something to clear both of them, they're going to have a very hard time establishing board presence. Ogre Brute, I quite like this card. It's a 4/4 for 3, so it actually passes the vanilla test with flying colours. The 50% chance to attack a wrong enemy isn't usually a factor, because if you play this on turn 3, even if your opponent plays something, if they haven't coined into it, odds are the Brute's going to trade for it, or it's going to hit the target that you want it to hit. And that means that the worst case scenario in my experience playing this card has just been that the card trades 1 for 1, which isn't terrible. Questing Adventurer, quite a lot of cheap cards in this deck, so this gives the deck a little bit of mid-game punch, possibly late game if you're playing against someone who doesn't have an answer for it, which, let's face it, everyone's got an answer for Questing Adventurer. It's an easy to get hold of card, it's quite a powerful card. The only real problem it has is it doesn't come with any sort of immunities, and you can silence it as well, which is quite nasty. But, you know, it's decent enough. It's another card that I'm thinking might come out, but we'll see how it goes. Implosion. This is pretty damn good for this deck. I don't know if I would call it a very good card as standard. 2 to 4 damage to a minion, summon a 1/1 for imp for each damage dealt. You play that against a mage, they follow up with Arcane Explosion, everything dies, and you've basically just paid 4 mana for, at best, 4 damage. And when you consider that you can normally get Shadow Bolt at 3 for 4, or Dark Bomb at 2 for 3, that's not great. But on the other hand, getting more minions on the board with this deck, pretty good idea. If your opponent doesn't have an answer for them, if they do have an answer for them, and you know quite a lot of classes will, then this is just pretty crap removal. Doomguard. I like this card. It's a 5/7 for 5, passes vanilla, charge, Battlecry, discard 2 random cards. The charge is the key thing here, because what you can do is think of this as 5 mana for 5 damage, and okay, that's not great, but then it sticks around as a minion as well. And this has won me a couple of games with this deck, because the opponent sees that you've got lots of crap on the board, they get down a low health, they clear the crap, and they're not expecting a 5/5 to come out, and because it's got charge, it can act before they can respond to it. It's not great, but it's cheap enough that if you draw it in the late game, you can dump your hand and still play the Doomguard. So if you have to discard 2 random cards and you've got no cards, the Battlecry, the drawback of the card, doesn't exist, and you've got a 5/7 for 5 with charge. Woohoo! Floating Watcher. Recent edition, I decided this deck did need more high-end. It kind of hit a brick at 3 or 4, and I could do a fair bit of damage in that time, but I couldn't finish the enemy off, and then after that they would just play bigger creatures that I couldn't trade with at all. So Floating Watcher came in to try and plug that gap, and so far it's done pretty well. Again, the problem is that it's a 4/4 for 5. If you want a life tap on the same turn, which is the only reliable way of giving it +2/+2, then you need 7 mana to play it, and you're playing it as a 6/6. So I don't know if the value's there. The fact that it can keep growing, that's where the value is, but that's contingent on the thing staying alive and also not die. Well, not just staying alive and not dying, but also actually edit this bit out. So that means that the value is contingent on the thing being kept alive or not being silenced. Siphon Soul, fantastic card, love this card. 6 mana for just bang, there goes your minion, and you get 3 health. The 3 health is a very, very nice little bonus, but honestly, just being able to point at something and it dies for 6, so long as it doesn't have any sorts of immunities, obviously, is, for my money, pretty damn useful. I think there are cards where you could feasibly get better value with destruction, like cards where you could remove more than 1 minion for less mana if the minions had slightly less health. This is a lot less situational, and it's just a really good answer for enemy endgame units. And the fact that it's 6 mana means if they are playing it in the endgame, you can usually get another card off as well. So that's the deck. Let's take it onto the ladder and see how it goes. Right, the washing machine's just started its spin cycle, so I apologise if those vibrations are travelling up into the microphone. I actually want to get a shock ring to make sure that this does not happen, but that's some way off yet, seeing as the only shock rings I found compatible with this microphone I have to order in from other countries, and like 70 quid. Ridiculous. I refuse to pay that for an accessory. Okay, I go first. So Flame Imp, strong play. Dark Bomb, strong play. I can remove what he puts on the board. Floating Watcher, not a good play. Let's see what we get instead. Demon Fire, that can go onto the Flame Imp on turn 2. That's a pretty good opener. Come on. Yeah, I like this because the Flame Imp can obviously do quite a lot of damage early on, and the Demon Fire can either be used to further increase that, or alternatively it can be used to remove something. Then there's the Dark Bomb, which can also be used to remove something. Does a bit more damage as well, a bit more effective for removal. I would want to use that for removal first and the Demon Fire second. But, you know, it's nice to have options. Alright, so we can either life tap to try and get a card advantage, or we can Demon Fire the Imp and just go bananas. I say we Demon Fire the Imp and go bananas, because that is a 5/4 on turn 2, and that is very, very fun. Let's see if he pulls out Fiery Winaxe. Now the problem with Warrior is that they've got a lot of fairly solid removal and fairly solid directed damage. They also have Execute. That kills a damaged minion, so that's not pleasant. Okay, we either drop Direwolf Alpha or we life tap. If we drop Direwolf Alpha, we'll pressure him into a play, I think, but I would rather get the life tap in. Is it worth it for an extra 1 damage this turn? I don't think so. I think we play that when we've got 2 minions if we can. Okay, so more removal. So if he tries to counter this with a minion of his own, I can play some removal on it. So the question is, can he counter it with a card? It's turn 3 and he's still not played anything. Mind you, that's not a very indicative play. If I've got a 5/4 on the board, most early game units will die to that and they will not trade well. So holding his hand is probably the right thing to do in this situation, depending on what he's actually got in there. Alright, so I don't want to risk harming the Imp because, like I said, Execute is a thing. It exists. So what we will do is Dark Bomb that. And then I think we life tap. Implosion! Nice! More removal and a way of getting some critters on the board as well. This is good. Wow, this... I think... I don't want to, like... I don't want to jinx it, but I think those tutorials have really paid off. Okay. Okay, that's nasty. That can actually kill the Imp. Dark Bomb or Implosion? I think we'll Implosion that because it will kill it. Dark Bomb will kill that, and that's the only thing that can kill the Imp, so... Go! Go, my Imp of Impiness! I'm tempted to play the Voidwalker just so that can't attack the Imp. I think I will, but I will life tap first. I should have life tapped before I did anything else. That's discipline. It's quite important that you actually have that as a Warlock player, because your life tap is your big advantage, and you need to use that advantage as strongly as you can. And this is something that I knew before the tutorials. I recognise card advantage when I see it, but... It's a discipline. You've got to always factor that life tap into the cards that you want to play. Alright, so we can trade the Flame Imp into the Senjin, and the Implosion removes that and gives me some creatures. And I don't really like that. I want to keep the imp alive if I can. Deal 4 damage, deal 1 damage. That leaves me with 2 to handle the Shattered Sun Cleric. Or Life Tap. Okay. This isn't good. We're trading 2 for 1, but we do get a card draw as well, so it's sort of like 1 for 1. Oh. Alright, okay. Yeah, we can't not. I mean, come on, we can't not. That was stupid. I should have removed the Shattered Sun Cleric, but I've now got lethal, and let's see what he can do. He's got to remove... Yeah, there we go. There's Execute. So that was actually completely the right thing to do. He would have played Execute first and removed it anyway, and yeah, I wouldn't have got any advantage. So, ooh, what do I want to do here? Fen Creeper, that's very nasty. That's hard to get rid of. I want to try and get some minions on the board so that I have advantage as soon... I've got stuff that I can hit him with as soon as his guard is down, and that would also combo really well with the Direwolf Alpha, but I need to get rid of this thing. That has to go before I do anything. And we're not quite playing on curve. That wasn't a good turn. I've had really good momentum up to this point. I've always had stuff I can do. That was not a great turn. That was really not a great turn. Well, I can corrupt it, obviously. Is there any way I can damage it? What can I actually do to hurt it? Nothing, and I can't kill it. So what I will do is Life Tap. Do I get anything? Okay, we can... Yeah. We have Insurance. We Implosion. Hope it does 4, and then finish it off with a Mortal Coil. If not, then we use Corruption on it. Okay, we did not make it. Is there anything we can do for a bit more damage? Probably not. I could play Mortal Coil on one of these imps and use them to get a card, but his health is so low that every single one of them counts. So instead, Corruption. Yeah. Again, suboptimal mana usage, but what are you going to do? See, he's got the tempo now. He's actually now dictating the flow of the game. I had it all the way up to about turn 5. So has he got something he can heal? That was... Yeah, that's a good play. Either I get an imp or he clears the board. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I wish I had Power Overwhelming. Why did I not put that in this deck? Alright, we could hit him. Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll play the Floating Watcher. We then Life Tap, and we Life Tap second because that gives the Floating Watcher a bonus. Now we can either Direwolf Alpha and get a trade there, or we can kill that off and then Mortal Coil and get a card. I don't really want cards. I want to kill him, and I want to kill him now and fast and hard. So that's how we're going to play that. This is a problem with this deck. Kind of relies on it wins in the early game or the mid game, or it doesn't win. That's the long and short of it, really. Hang on, what's he got? 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, that's lethal. GG. Yeah. That core hound lost it. As I said, this deck, it pretty much has to win early game or mid game. You've got bits and pieces in there that can sort of come together to make an end game play if your opponent's not got much of an end game. But that's not really reliable.